Okay, so check this out. My homeboy, Triborough, straight from Brooklyn, I was checking out these posts he was doing on IG. And apparently there was this like vinyl challenge, tag, whatever you want to call it nowadays, that's going on IG right now. And basically, the guy who started it is Troy Stanley. Where's it? Stanley Troy. Stanley. Troy. Stanley. Okay, check this out. So my homeboy Triborough, straight out of Brooklyn, IG homie and all of that. I've been watching his posts on IG, and he's been doing these posts where he's been involved with this vinyl challenge or tag or whatever, where basically he's been answering these questions and showing off this vinyl. And there's different questions, sort of like the tags that you see going on YouTube. Uh, so the brother that started this is his brother named Stanley Troy the Third. Stanley Troy Third on IG. Stanley Troy and then 3RD. So I was checking out some of his posts, and he basically for the whole month of February, every day he's listing a record, and then the record is based off of the different questions that he's asking for you to highlight certain records on certain days. So I love stuff like this. But I decided instead of waiting and listening a record per day, I was going to do a video version of all 28 records. And that I would just put it on here because YouTube's my thing. And that way I could kind of speed it all up and get it all done in one fair swoop. So I want to send a huge shout out to Stanley Troy the Third. I hope I'm saying that right. And a huge shout out to my boy Triborough. And I'm going to just try my best to answer these questions the best I can. And let's just get started, all right? So here we go. So, question number 1. What is your first genre, your first introduction to music, your first genre? Well, for me, that's an easy one. It would be R&B, of course, soul music, and it would be Jackie Wilson. And my father, I heard my father playing Jackie Wilson. Get a little better view of that. Sorry about the shine. My father would play Jackie Wilson around the house. And many years ago, I bought this kind of best of album, and I would play it, and it reminds me of my father. So yeah, I think a lot of guys like me, they started off with the R&B, followed by more modern 70s R&B, followed by all of the 70s funk and soul, and it all kind of falls under that R&B soul umbrella. So for me, yeah, it would be Jackie Wilson. Thanks to you, Dad. Question number 2, your favorite colored vinyl. Show off a record, your favorite color. I really don't have a favorite color of vinyl, but I still want to show you something that I thought was kind of interesting and would be fun to show. So I have a 45 label called Jamil Records. There's, I think, my second release off of Jamil. Basically what Jamil is all about is basically re-releasing really old rap music from the 80s, early 90s from my hometown of Milwaukee, or releasing never before released music that has never been available to the public. I started this label in 2009. Most of it is music from Milwaukee's old school, but there's some other stuff on there too. So I always wanted to do some color vinyl back then just to make my releases a little bit more special. And the company that I work with, sometimes they would, I won't call them mistakes, I will call them, you know, I would refer to them as even better, more special pieces, I guess. This particular release, which was Meaty, Cool as Chillin', that came out back in the 80s, and yes, I requested this red vinyl on there. But when I would do some of these releases, every now and then, the vinyl would come out in slightly different colors. They would be slightly off. Now, some people might not like that, but I actually loved it. So I had a few that came out just like this, and take a look at that. Now, this is what it was supposed to be, but this is what it actually ended up being. Let me show you another example. I did a release of the Ill Chief Rockers, which was Stricky Love and Kid Crab. This was a song they did called Jealous, and I put that on gold vinyl. But I had a handful of these that kind of came out like with some black in there. See how they did that? Now, I don't think they did that on purpose. Maybe there was a little bit of black vinyl in the machine when it was being pressed or whatever. I'm not exactly sure, but I actually love the way this stuff came out. Now, there was some years where the same pressing plant, and the name of the pressing plant is Musical Recording. I think they're out of Ohio. I've worked with them for years. We did this release, Oxygen from Long Island, who was a part of the group Soundside. I hope I'm saying that right. And he was a part of the group Sputnik Brown. So this is a Sputnik Brown reissue that we did. This was, I believe, 2016, if I'm not saying. But this song originally came out in 2006. At the time, Musical was offering free colored vinyl, except you weren't able to pick the color. They would just give you whatever they had. So I'm not sure if they did this on purpose or if this was just a coincidence, but this Sputnik Brown song called You Having Fun Yet actually came out on brown vinyl. So for it to be Sputnik Brown and then actually arrive on brown vinyl was a total shock and surprise, and it ended up working out fantastic for obvious reasons. So if I had to pick some favorite colored vinyl that I own, it would be things like this, small mistakes or coincidences that actually ended up working out pretty cool. Okay, so number 3, show an artist that you only have one release from. And for me, that artist would be Solange. Now, I was never really into her because I never knew much about her. But her early albums, like her first 2, maybe 3 albums, definitely the first 2, I would see in different record stores in the dollar box. And I never touched them. I kind of wish I picked some up now because I'm curious as to how they actually sound. When I saw those records back in the day, I actually thought that maybe they kind of sound like the average stuff that was being played on the radio or maybe the nightclubs, which I wasn't really getting into that stuff, as much as maybe I did back in the, 90s or whatever. But this album is just completely beautiful. Those of you who know. But yeah, so far, this is the only album, the only release that I have from Salon. So this would this would be my pick for question number 3. Okay, question number 4. Post any jazz vinyl. This one just happened to be available, so I grabbed it. This is called The New Groove, the Blue Note Remix Project. Any of you guys remember this? Now, I bought this when it came out a long time ago. I'm not exactly sure. I think it was early 2000s, somewhere in there. And I guess this was like a bunch of your favorite groups and producers kind of doing their own little take on certain songs. So you had like Large Professor messing with Cannonball Adderley, The Angel, Donald Byrd, Diamond D, Ronnie Foster, The Uma, which was Q-Tip and Jay Dilla was messing with Grant Green. And then you had other artists, Gene Harris, Bobby Hutcherson, Ronnie Laws, Noah Pointer, Horace Silver, Lonnie Smith. And then you had other people like Guru, The Roots, DJ Smash, Easy Mo B, and so on and so forth. So this was just those guys kind of putting a little spin on some classic Blue Note songs from back in the day. Yeah, goes for a pretty penny nowadays too. Okay, number 5. Highlight a splattered vinyl pressing. Let me just say this. It used to be a time when colored vinyl was like really special. It really stood out. But these days, especially in these last 5, 8 years, it's like all of these companies are putting out just massive amounts of colored vinyl. And it ain't sexy no more. It's not cool. It doesn't stand out anymore. Not like it used to, because there's so much of it being pushed out there. And when it comes to splatter vinyl is a sure sign of either a brand new release. When I say new, I'm talking about in the last 5, 6 years, or a new reissue. I don't have many reissues, and I don't have many new artists or new releases from these newer artists. So I don't have any splatter vinyl. The closest I could get is maybe, one of these Jamil records I showed you already. That's like maybe the closest I could get as far as, I just don't have any splatter vinyl. Okay, number 6, show one of your favorite albums from 1996, 2006, or 2016. For me, that was an easy one. I'm going with 96, and I'm going with Tribe Called Quest, Beats, Rhymes, and Life. This is just a beautiful album cover. If you look up albums that came out in 96, like rap albums especially, there was like a ton of classic albums. It was the perfect time to be listening to rap music back in those days. It was a special time, and this album was very special. By the time this came out, A Tribe Called Quest couldn't be stopped. They had, just made their way to being the classic legends that they are today. I think the albums all up that led up to this were just them going higher and higher and higher, and by the time this came out, they were like just sitting on the top and have been there ever since. And then what's special about this record is in 90, I believe it was, the same year, I was at the Smoke and Grooves tour, which they were on that tour. And I've told this story before a few times, but I was backstage and I got to speak to Phife Dawg. You can see his signature right there. And so I remember asking Phife if he could sign my record for me. I actually had like a small stack of records that I wanted him to sign. And so I pulled this record out first, and when he saw it, he looked shocked. He saw the record, and then he kind of snatched it out of my hands. And when he snatched it out of my hands, he was like looking at it real close. He was doing like this, and he was just analyzing it. And then he tells me that he said, this is the first time that I've seen this particular album on vinyl. He had never seen it before on vinyl. His first time seeing that on the actual record is when I showed it to him, which I never understood that. If I was an artist, I'd have every single, send the first 100 copies to my house. I'll be in a pressing plant to pick them up as soon as they're done. But he had not seen it, and so he was just really taking a really close look. And then he gave me the signature too. And I have some other autograph records around here. I have one where all three of them signed it. But yeah, that was a cool story. This is my choice for an album from 96, 2006, or 2016. Okay, the next one is an album variant that you copped before they were all sold out. Now, I don't know if this will qualify. I'm going to talk about a 12-inch. Now, there's been a lot of different stories surrounding this 12-inch soon after it came out. We're going to talk about Dilated People's Worst Come to Worst. And the thing about this record is, as you can see, this news anchor, I don't know, I can't remember what his name is, but I'm sure most of you guys recognize this guy from being on the news. Is this Tom Brokaw, one of them dudes? He's one of those dudes. You can see. Now, the rumor that was going around back then, soon after this came out, is that the group had not got this guy's permission to actually use his picture. And so I guess they had to pull that off the shelves because they just never cleared being able to use this. And when they did, they came out with the next cover that looked like this. Now, I realize that this says just the single, Worst Come to Worst, and then this one says the remix. But the regular version that just says single as well still has the picture of this woman on it. So, was that true or not? I have no idea, but I knew that once I heard about this being recalled or whatever, and then when this one came out, I wanted to have both copies. I have no idea if they completely sold out. I think back then they did, but now they're like more readily available. This was what, early 2000s or something? Somewhere around there. I don't see a year on here. But anyway. Yeah, so would that count as a variant? Yeah, I think so. Let's keep it moving. Question number 8. Highlight an R&B album. Well, I want to show you guys Nicole Willis and the Soul Searchers. Is that what that says? The Soul Investigators. Okay, this is kind of ridiculous, but I picked this up way back when it came out. Like years on here. It doesn't even say a year. But it's been several years ago I picked this up. I was in LA at Amoeba. Me and a homie Drunk Jeff was in there just digging. We were in town for the beat swap meet, the whole nine. And I picked this up, and I'm notorious for buying records, and then I kind of just put them away or put them down, and it takes forever before I actually get to actually listen to them. This particular record, I must have bought this 15 years ago, something like that. And it kind of sat in my living room for years, maybe I mean, years, maybe 10 years or something like that. 10, 11 years. And then I finally took the plastic off of it. But I still haven't listened to this record. I think I listened to like the first couple songs and then I got distracted and had to do something. But to this day, I have not listened to this song in its entirety. You know, it is on Timmons Records, which is a soul label. So I'm I'm pretty positive I'm not gonna be disappointed. But come on, look at that album cover. I had to pick this up. What are you kidding me or what? Yeah, it's my R&B album. Highlighting it. Check my style out. Okay, next question is highlight a marble pressing of a record that you have. Well, I'm gonna go back to the same thing with the splatter and all of that stuff. I really don't have, you know, any marble record. If I do, I don't know about it, but I really don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure I don't have anything marbled. Well, I might have some marble ones. I just can't recall. I definitely don't have any splattered ones in my collection. If I did, I would be very surprised. So, sorry. Let's move on. Okay, question number 10. Name an artist that you have 10 or more releases from. There is a lot of artists that I have 10 plus releases of. A lot. But the one I decided to show you because it was nearest to me at the time, and it might be. Ooh, this is one of the artists that I have like a ton of stuff, and this is the creator of Afrobeat music, straight out of Nigeria. This is Fela Kuti, and I just want to show you most of what I have from him. This is Mr. Follow Follow. These are all original pressings from Africa. Some of them, a few of these are American pressings of the same album. This one he did with Gene Baker, and this is a live album. This one is called Calacuta Show. Now, if there's any Fela vinyl fans out there and you're looking for original pressings, you know how difficult that can be to find them, or how expensive. But I have fun tracking a lot of these down. This one is Black President. Then we have, and we can't forget, he's rolling with the Africa 70, and then later on Egypt 80. This one is Shakara, and you can see all of his beautiful wives there on the front. This was Fela with the Egypt 80, and this is live in Amsterdam. You know, when he would fly to different parts of the world, they would take up a whole entire jet plane. So if you can imagine how many musicians and backup dancers and singers and everybody, it was a lot of them. This is a special one for me. I think this is one of my favorite covers. This is the Yellow Fever. And yeah, it's seen better days. It's got tape all around it, but hey, give it to me. I'd rather have it than not. Coming up next, this is my favorite Fela release ever. This is Beasts of No Nation. Man, I love it. And these albums, they only have between 2 and 3 songs on each record because they're so long in length. I think this one, does it even say? Like this song, this one only has two singles on it, or 2 songs on it, and each song takes up the whole side of each record, so you can just put it on and let it play. And incredible musicianship. What is this? Alec Bond Close or something? I hope I'm saying that right. Um, it's a familiar cover right there. Up next, original. Oh, I don't even know what it says. This one has some damage on it on the bottom there, so I can't actually read what that one says or whatever. But check this out. Now that's what you call chilling right there. I want to do that kind of chilling one day. This is definitely my favorite Fela cover. I just love this. I just love that cover. I love that cover. I like the way the light sky blue and the red kind of, just kind of merges with each other, I guess you could say. This one is called No Agreement. I know there was a number of different pressings of that one. This one is called Jealousy. This one is called the Original Sufferhead. See down there. Original Sufferhead. So I think we're already well past the 10 mark. This one is just, Army Arrangement. I'll try to speed this up a little bit. Teacher Don't Teach Me Nonsense. Okay, so starting right now, these are reissues. It got to the point where some of these were like the original pressings were like a lot of money. We're talking $100, $150, $200 a copy. So one of the last box sets that was released, I actually bought a box set that had like 6 albums. But I didn't realize I had so many reissues of this. This is the album he did with Roy Ayers. This one was called Everything Scatter. This one, Sorrow, Tears, and Blood. I'm going to do a separate video eventually that talks about the artist, because most of these covers were done by the same artist, but that's a whole nother video, if you will. This was a 2016 Record Store Day re-release. I Go Shout Plenty. So that was cool. I'm glad I was able to get a copy of that. Hey, did I just see this one? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I just noticed this right now. So this one that I showed you called Sorrow, Tears, and Blood. And then this is Sorrow, Tears, and Blood with a whole different cover. I didn't even notice that before. Let's see if it has the same songs on it. Sorrow, Tears, and Blood. And no, this one has 2 songs. This has 3 songs in all, but 2 of the songs don't appear on this one. They both have Sorrow, Tears, and Blood, and then this also has Perambulator, and then this one has a song called, man, I can't even read some of this language. I'm sorry. This one is actually still sealed. I don't think I'm making much sense right now. I cannot pronounce that. I'm not even going to try. Here's another. I think this was a reissue from 2006. You set these down. Couple more. You miswrote. Upside Down. Featuring Sandra down there. And then the last one I want to show you is Not for Man. So yeah, I think it's an understatement to say I have 10 or more copies of this particular artist. I'm a huge Fela fan, as you can see. And I also have, albums from his two sons. That's for another video. Let's keep it going. Next question is highlight an album older than yourself. Okay, so man, that was actually hard because I'm older than I look, I guess. So I had to go digging. I couldn't find stuff in my regular collection, so I had to go into my jazz albums because everybody's got really old jazz albums. So I found this Thelonious Monk with John Coltrane, and that goes back to 1961. Um, so yeah, I got a couple albums, Thelonious Monk albums from the 60s actually, but this is one I thought would be cool to show. Monk and Coltrane on the same album. So question number 12 is highlight a multicolored album cover. I thought this would be a cool one. This is Old School Classics right here. It's got the graffiti art on there, which I think is cool. The colors go all over the place. I think that's a very good choice for me. This album actually features Grand Wizard Theodore, Cold Crush Brothers, Jimmy Spicer, T-Ski Valley, the Maximus 3, and if you take a closer look, I actually have Grand Wizard Theodore's, Kevy Kev Rockwell, and Grandmaster Caz. I hope you can see that. I got all of them to actually autograph this record for me. So yeah, I think that's a great choice for a multicolored album cover. Okay, next up. Show an album that was a total steal. This is question number 13. For this one, I had to pull it off of the wall because it's in a frame. I'm going to say that for me would be the Roots Illadelph Half-Life. Yes, it is autographed. That's why it's all the squiggly stuff that you can barely see. Here's why this was a steal for me. I got this when it came out. Back home in Milwaukee, my homeboy DJ Wolf D used to run a record pool, and this record pool was $25 a month. And you got anywhere between, with that record pool, you got anywhere between, I would say back then, anywhere between maybe 25 up to 75 different records every month. So you walked away with a nice stack every time. And this was one of the records I actually got in that record pool. And Wolf, he was so cool that he made sure that everybody kind of got, the same amount, this, that, and the other thing. Sometimes, a lot of times actually, with the 12 inches, you got 2 copies. But with the albums, you only got 1 copy. But when you went back the next month to get the new releases, if there was anything left over from the previous month, he'd let you take, more of that stuff. He just wanted to make sure that everybody who was in the pool had what they had coming to them, or got what they had coming to them. Everybody, gets everything. So going back, I grabbed like probably 3 or 4 more copies of this. And granted that this album has gone on to become like a super classic, but back then it was just one of many, many albums. So not only did I get like a handful from Wolf, the promos were just like everywhere. You could go in record stores and find them in the dollar boxes, or find them cheap, $2-3. So they were kind of everywhere. When I later decided to move out here to Phoenix, I still probably had 3 copies laying around, and I just got rid of them. I gave them away because I was like, well, I got it and I don't need to bring that either. So I got rid of them. I wish I kept them because they're worth a pretty penny right now. I could have made a few bucks off of them. But yeah, this is a steal. I got this basically for next to nothing. Multiple copies too. Okay, day 14. Show an overpriced record that was still totally worth it. Well, on a weekend digging trip to LA, there was this store out there that they used to have called Records LA. The owner's name was Scott, and Scott was originally from Detroit. And let me tell you, he knew his music. And at the time that he was there, in my opinion, it was the best record store that LA had ever seen. He ended up closing it down because he opened another record store inside of a bookstore. I haven't spoken to Scott in many years, but the name of the bookstore was called The Last Bookstore, and it was downtown LA. So hopefully he's still around doing his thing and selling records. He had a really big spot in there. He had tons of records in there. Most of it was real common, everyday top 40 stuff that he was just making a ton of money. So if you ever are in LA and you go to the Last Bookstore and you see some records, it's probably Scott in there still doing his thing. Anyway, at his first store out there in LA, Records LA, there was this record right here, and this is just like some Russian album. I don't know what that says or how to pronounce that. I have no idea. But this is what made me kind of buy this record. Let me put it back in its original sleeve because I want to show you what's actually on this sleeve. Now, I paid $40 for this record. So to pay $40, actually, let me, the price tag. To pay $40 for some Russian record that I don't know. And he didn't have listening stations in there either. But this is what he put on the sleeve. Killer funky Russian jazz breaks. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me take a chance on it and see. Man, this is this breaks all over this record. It is great. There's two songs in particular where it's just, man, these really, really dope open drums. So I have no idea what the actual worth is on this record now because there's no way for me to do any research because I can't even, some of these letters, I don't know what it is. But yeah, this is definitely what I would call at the time overpriced, but totally worth it. Okay, next up, day number 15, show a clear vinyl piece that you own. Highlight some clear vinyl. Clear vinyl is pretty common. I'm going to highlight this Run DMC, very rare, very limited classic Black History Slow and Low. And this was like a bootleg that came out back in the day. And there were only 200 copies of this. What is that? That's number 8 of the 200 that came out. So, yeah, this is my clear vinyl piece I want to highlight. Good luck finding this one too, because they are not around. And if they are, you're probably going to pay a pretty penny for it. But hey, it's Run DMC, so it's always worth it. Okay, Group Appreciation Day, day number 16. I am highlighting from my hometown of Milwaukee, the mighty Kali Tribe. And this is called Kaliism. It's an EP. One of my favorite records from back in the day. This came out in the early 90s. Rest in peace, my man Lando Lynn right here. And just recently, we lost my brother Twan Mack right here. King Kamazi, I just ran into him in Milwaukee. So nice catching up, man. Catching up with Kamazi. And yeah, two of my brothers on there are gone. But yeah, I had to highlight some Milwaukee stuff for you. If you love 90s underground music, you're going to love Kaliism. So, and they're still available. Just go on the internet, you can find them, and they're not a whole lot of money. Check it out. Day number 17, show some grown folks music. Come on now. You know that's what I'm all about. Today we're going to talk about Maze, featuring Frankie Beverly, rest in peace. Hey, if you know, you know. I'm not going to go into no big, huge explanation, but yeah, this is grown folks music at its best. This is the We Are One album, probably my favorite album from Maze. But yeah. This is for my 40 and 50 and 60 over crew right here. Okay, next question. Show a greenish colored vinyl release that you have. I thought this had a really healthy amount of green in it. This is Del the Funky Homo Sapien, the 11th Hour album. Hey, if that's not enough green for you, I don't really know what to tell you. Let's keep it moving. Okay, next up, show an album from the 90s that needs more recognition. Well, I would have to say, what year was this? 90 something, I don't know. This is Speech from Arrested Development. This is his very first solo album that came out. I think it's fantastic. If you like Arrested Development, you will love this record. It didn't get, in my opinion, it didn't get enough recognition here in the States, or at least in the areas that I was in. It just didn't move like I thought it should have. I'm a huge Arrested Development and Life Music fan, so I kind of follow all of their releases and whatnot, and I just thought it was a great album. So if you get a chance, check it out, and then you tell me what you think. Okay, the next question. Show a 20th century highlight. Now, if my math is right, that would put us at 1996, right? It's 2020. Am I saying that right? I hope I'm right. I think that puts us at 96. And for me, hands down, 96, this was the best album that came out that year. Give Lifted, John Legend, classic album. There's no skips in this record. Pure, unadulterated soul music with a little touch of rap in there too. Alright? You guys know what this album is. I don't have to explain this. Let's keep it going. 21. You have the reissue, but you want the OG. Now, there's not a whole lot of records I have like that. Maybe a handful or two. But the one that came to mind immediately is He's Coming by Roy Ayers. I would love to have an OG of this. I only saw an original pressing of this out in the wild once. It was at a record store here in town. It was a promo copy. It was in great condition, and it was going for $100. And that was probably 15 years ago, easy. I couldn't afford it then. I don't know if I would pay $100 now. I'm not exactly sure, and I'm not sure what it's going for. I haven't done any research, but I would love to have this in an original pressing. But for now, I'll deal with my reissue. Yeah. Okay, so the next question is, you have the OG, but you want the reissue too. Nah. If I have the OG, I'm not checking for no reissue, personally. I don't have any records like that, but I will show you something that's still interesting. This is Tom Scott Honeysuckle Breeze, and this is the reissue that came out that Get On Down put out a while back. But after I purchased this, I don't know if it was months later, probably a year or two later, I did end up finding the original copy of that. And of course, I bought that. I don't remember. I think I paid like $40 for this, which is a great price. At the time, this was $150 record. I'm not sure what it goes for now, but yeah, I actually have both of these, and now the reissue goes for well over $100. So yeah, I think this is one of the few that this would be the case. I also have Baby Huey like that, the OG and the original. But I should have showed you those, to be honest with you. Okay, number 23 or day 23. Show a GOAT album. You know, an album from one of the greatest of all times. And of course, I'm going to show the greatest of all time, Prince. And this is a concert called Rocket. Well, the album is called Rock in Rio. It was a concert he did in 1991, and they just recently released it on vinyl. This is a modern bootleg, but hey, it's Prince, so I'll take any bootleg from Prince I can get. I mean, they really put a lot of beautiful work into this record. Show you some of the song listings. So, yeah, the greatest musician in music history. That's not up for debate. Okay, show a record with a reddish cover. The first record that came to mind is Redman, There Is a Dark Side. What more can I say? Day 25, show a 25th anniversary album. So I hope my math is right, but wouldn't that take us to 96 as well? Am I saying that? I think that takes us to 96 as well. If I'm wrong, I'm just wrong. But my choice for that is Prince, Rave On to the Joy. Once again, you can never go wrong with Prince. You can never have too much Prince. But if my math is correct, and it probably isn't, this is my choice. Okay, day 26. Highlight an album from an artist that has passed away. Well, how many of you guys have seen this Bernie Worrell album? The last album that he put out, Retrospectives, right here. I picked this up at the Beat Swap Meet. I actually bought this directly from Arabian Prince, who was selling these for Bernie Worrell, who was actually on his deathbed at the time that I actually bought this. This is what Arabian Prince was actually telling me. And yeah, like, I don't think it was even 2 weeks later. I think like a week or maybe within 2 weeks later, Bernie had passed away. So I'm happy that I was able to grab his last release. You know, it's a special record to have in my collection. Day 27, highlight an album with a full face cover on there. We all know there's a ton of those, but what came to mind for me right away was the first release from Faith Evans. Now that is an album cover. I met Faith when she first came out, and I got her to sign her first single for me, You Used to Love Me. But this album cover is the perfect type of album cover to get signed, because it's just so much space, so much room. It's light in color. some albums are made real good for having them signed or whatever, because the color, the art, or whatever could clash with the actual signature. But I think this is a perfect record to get signed. Okay, we're down to day 28, the last one. And the question for that is, show the last album that you purchased. I buy a lot of records. So that the answer to that is always changing. But I would say the last album that I bought, or one of the last albums that I bought, is an album titled House of Spirits, and it's by Tom Noble. Tom Noble is a producer, artist, and record dealer, originally from Milwaukee. I think he's hanging out in Brooklyn. This is a boogie album. Mine is still sealed. I haven't broke it open yet, but I am told that this record is pure dynamite. So, we'll see. I need to crack this open and get it on the turntables and give it a good listen. If you know anything about Tom Noble, you know that everything he touches turns to gold pretty much. So, big ups to him. And yeah, this was my latest vinyl release. So, this brings us to the end of this video. Again, I want to send a super duper shout out to Stanley Troy third on IG, and a big shout out to my man Triboro, who actually introduced me to this whole tag thing. Stanley, I hope you don't mind me doing a video version of this. I thought it would be more fun for me, and I could talk about all of the records all at the same time. So, that's going to do it for me right now. This is Daryl D signing off. Thank you guys, those who hung out with me for the whole video. I know this video is super long, but thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you next time on Daryl D TV.